Okay, so I need to tell you something. And honestly, I think today might be one of those days that completely shifts the trajectory of your entire month, maybe even longer. Today, March 26th, the moon meets Jupiter in Cancer at 14 to 15 degrees. And I know that might sound like just another lunar transit to some people, but this one feels different. Really different, because this isn't happening in isolation. This is the culmination of everything that's been building for weeks. If you've been feeling heavy lately, like you've been carrying something that was never yours to carry, like there's a tenderness inside you that keeps getting pushed back down, I really want you to stay with me on this one. Because I think today is when that softness finally gets to land somewhere safe. When the thing you've been quietly hoping for actually arrives. And here's what's really getting my attention. There are 3 specific zodiac signs that are about to receive what I can only describe as an emotional miracle. A blessing so unexpected and so complete, it reorders something fundamental inside you. And if you're one of those 3 signs, you need to know what to watch for today. But before I get into who those signs are, there's something I need to explain first. Because to understand why today is so significant, you have to understand what's been happening leading up to this moment. And honestly, once you see the full picture, you're going to realize this isn't random at all. The tension you've been living inside has a name. Let's be real. The past few weeks have been a lot for most of us. There's been this sharp, grinding energy underneath everything, like something is being forced, like pressure is being applied from all directions, and you're being asked to hold your shape under conditions that feel genuinely impossible. You might have been dealing with power struggles, with situations where control was the central issue, with dynamics where someone or something was pushing hard against your autonomy. And if you felt like you're moving through resistance, like every step forward costs twice what it should, like you're fighting for things that should come naturally, like your will keeps colliding with something bigger and immovable. There's a very specific reason for that. Mars has been squaring Pluto at 22 degrees, Aries meeting Aquarius. And this is one of the most intense, demanding, confrontational aspects in all of astrology. I've been feeling this myself, honestly. That feeling of being tested at the level of your actual identity. That uncomfortable place where you have to decide what you're truly willing to fight for. And what you need to finally release your grip on. Mars square Pluto is like trying to move something that does not want to move. Everything requires more force than expected. The friction is real. What you want collides with what is. And for weeks, we've all been navigating this heavy, pressurized energy. But here's the thing. And this is where it gets interesting. Because today, March 26th, something else is also happening. Something that exists in direct contrast to all of that friction. And that contrast is exactly what makes today so powerful. Something massive is shifting right now. So today isn't just about Mars and Pluto pressing against each other. Today is also the day the moon meets Jupiter in Cancer, Elion Vara Lumi, the conjunction of emotional expansion and nurturing grace at 14 to 15 degrees of Cancer. This is huge. We have the most confrontational planetary aspect running in the background, Karen this Vera, and simultaneously the most nurturing, abundantly generous lunar aspect arriving in the foreground. It's like the universe is holding 2 things at once today, the fire and the water, the pressure and the relief, the demand and the gift. And I really believe this creates a very specific kind of breakthrough moment. Because when you combine the intensity of Mars square Pluto with the emotional abundance of Moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, you get something rare. You get depth meeting tenderness. You get the parts of you that were forced to the surface by all that pressure finally being held by something warm enough to receive them. But here's what's really getting my attention. On the same day that everything feels like it's being pushed to a limit, Elion Vara Lumi arrives, the moon and Jupiter in Cancer. Cancer is the sign of the home, the heart, the deep emotional interior of the self. It rules what we need to feel safe, what we need to feel nurtured, what we need in order to actually let our guard down. And Jupiter in Cancer is one of the most fortunate placements that exists, because Jupiter expands everything it touches. And in Cancer, it expands emotional well-being, family blessings, the sense of being held and cared for. When the moon, which governs your feelings and your deepest needs, moves into an exact conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer, it's like the universe opens its arms. It's not a subtle transit. It is a full, generous, emotionally saturated moment of grace. I think of Elion Vara Lumi as the heart of what's available today, the blessing that arrives not despite the pressure of Charon this Vera, but partly because of it, because Mars square Pluto forces everything to the surface, and then Moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer gives all of that surfaced emotion somewhere beautiful to land. Today is when it all comes together. Okay, so here's where we get to the heart of this. Right now, today, the moon moves into exact conjunction with Jupiter at 14 to 15 degrees of Cancer. Cancer ruled by the moon itself. This is the moon coming home and finding Jupiter waiting there. Think of the moon as the vessel of your emotional truth. Whatever it encounters, it absorbs and amplifies and delivers to you as lived experience. So when the moon meets Jupiter in Cancer, the sign of emotional depth and ancestral memory, it's like a floodgate of warmth opening. The emotional numbness that's been part of surviving these past weeks lifts. The tenderness you've been armoring against suddenly has permission to exist. The love, the hope, the quiet longing that you tucked away because the environment felt too harsh for it. Today, it comes back. And it doesn't come back small. Jupiter makes it come back large. And because this is happening against the backdrop of Mars, square Pluto at 22 degrees, Charon this Vera, the emotional breakthrough that arrives today isn't comfortable softness. I really believe this is earned grace, the kind of blessing that only means something because you went through what you went through to get here, the reconciliation you'd stopped hoping for, the emotional clarity that cuts through years of confusion, the moment where something that was painful finally transmutes into something you can work with. Does that resonate? Have you been waiting for something to feel okay again? Because if you have, today might be that day. Elion Vara Lumi is activating the part of you that governs what you need most deeply. And while everyone is going to feel this in some way, there are 3 specific signs that are positioned to receive the most profound and lasting emotional transformation today. The first, Cancer. Your blessing is arriving at your own doorstep. If you're a Cancer, and this applies whether that's your sun, moon, or rising, today is unlike almost anything you felt in a long time. The moon conjuncting Jupiter in your sign is the universe sending its most generous energy directly into your house. This is personal. This is intimate. This is for you. Here's what's been going on for you. The moon is your ruling planet, which means every lunar aspect lands in you more completely than it does for most. And these past weeks, with Charon this Vera, Mars square Pluto, running through your chart, you've been in the middle of a power dynamic that's been exhausting at the deepest level. Maybe it's been about control in a close relationship. Maybe it's been about your own internal struggle. The part of you that's been fighting to maintain yourself under pressure that keeps intensifying. But Elion Vara Lumi today is conjuncting your first house, your house of self, your identity, the energy you carry into every room. And Jupiter is there waiting, expanding, generous, warm. Today, you don't have to fight to feel okay. Today, the feeling of okayness arrives. What does that look like in real terms? I think you're about to receive something that lands in the emotional center of your life. Maybe it's a conversation that heals something you'd given up on healing. Maybe it's news about your home, your family, your domestic situation. Something that resolves in a way that feels almost too good to believe. Maybe it's an inner shift so complete and so sudden that you go from feeling depleted to feeling held. And you're not entirely sure what changed, only that something did. Whatever form it takes, I really believe it's going to feel like being found, like the universe remembered exactly what you needed and delivered it today, right now, without explanation. The second, Aries. The intensity transforms into power. Aries, if you're watching this, you've been at the absolute center of Conjunct this Vera. Mars is your ruling planet. And Mars has been squaring Pluto at 22 degrees, which means this has been your aspect more than anyone else's. You've been in a confrontation, maybe with a person, maybe with a system, maybe with a version of yourself that refuses to yield. Either way, you've been in it, and the pressure has been immense. Not the ordinary kind of difficult, the kind that strips away everything that isn't essential and leaves you with only the most fundamental version of what you actually want and who you actually are. That's what Pluto does when Mars meets it in a square. It doesn't ask you to improve. It asks you to transform. And transformation at this level is never comfortable. But here's what I want you to understand. Elion Vara Lumi is also active today. And for you, Moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer is reaching into your fourth house, your house of home, roots, emotional foundation, the private interior self that no one else sees, the part of you underneath the warrior. And Jupiter there today is enormous, expansive. It's saying, the fight you've been in has uncovered something real, and now beneath the battle there is blessing. What does that mean practically? Maybe it's emotional clarity about what you've been fighting for, and the sudden, complete peace that comes from understanding your own motivation at a level you couldn't access before. Maybe it's something that arrives in your home life, your family, your most private relationships, something unexpectedly warm and generous that catches you off guard. You've been armored. You've been in combat mode. And today, Elion Vara Lumi slips past all of that and lands somewhere soft and deep inside you. Let it. The third, Capricorn, the release you've been earning. Capricorn, your experience of these past weeks has been intense in a structural way. Karen this Vera, Mars square Pluto at 22 degrees, has been moving through territory that governs your authority, your ambition, the structures you've spent years building. There may have been a confrontation around power, professional, financial, or personal, that forced you to examine whether what you've built actually reflects who you've become. Pluto has a way of finding what isn't authentic and applying pressure until it either transforms or collapses. And for you, the question has been, what are you truly willing to sustain? What is worth the fight? What do you release because it was never really yours to hold? But today, Elion Vara Lumi is reaching into your seventh house, the house of partnership, significant relationships, the people who reflect you back to yourself. And Moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer in that house is one of the most emotionally generous aspects you can receive in the area of relationship. Something shifts today in how you connect. Maybe it's a reconciliation, a relationship that felt irreparably strained, suddenly finding its way back to warmth. Maybe it's a partnership that arrives unexpectedly and feels, from the very first moment, like something you've needed for a long time. The pressure of Conjunct this Vera cleared something. It removed what wasn't working, so that today, Elion Vara Lumi could deliver what actually does. The emotional blessing that arrives in your relational world today has the weight and depth of something you earned through everything you've endured recently. And I really think it's going to arrive swiftly. Moon conjunct Jupiter moves fast. Stay available. Stay open. Stay present for the connection that wants to happen today. Because I think it carries everything, what everyone else can expect. Now, even if those three signs don't describe you specifically, today's Elion Vara Lumi is still going to reach you. Everyone is going to feel this movement from the harsh, grinding pressure of Mars square Pluto into something much more emotionally alive and generous. You might notice that something you've been holding yourself tightly against suddenly releases, that an emotional weight that's been sitting in your chest quietly lifts, that someone or something arrives today that reminds you what warmth actually feels like. The emotional heaviness that's been coating everything starts to soften, and it softens quickly when Moon meets Jupiter. And here's what I think is really important to understand. Elion Vara Lumi is also an invitation to receive. It is a two-way activation. It's not just what the universe sends to you, it's your willingness to actually let it in. Because here's the thing about Cancer energy. It requires you to be soft enough to receive. And Karen this Vera, Mars, square, Pluto, has had a lot of us armored up, defended, braced. So today, as much as anything, is an invitation to lower the armor. Just for today. Just enough to let the blessing through. Because if you stay defended against today's energy, the grace moves around you instead of through you. So if there's something you've been wanting to feel, safety, warmth, belonging, relief, today, let yourself feel it. If there's someone you've been wanting to reach toward, reach. The emotional intelligence required to receive beauty is the same intelligence that's been sharpened by everything you've survived lately. The bigger picture. Why today matters beyond the moment. Okay, so I want to zoom out and talk about why this specific combination of energies is so significant beyond just today's immediate experience. We have Karen this Vera, Mars square Pluto at 22 degrees, which is fundamentally a confrontation between personal will and transformational power, between what you want to force and what can only be surrendered to, between the part of you that fights and the part of you that is being asked to evolve past the fight. This aspect doesn't offer easy resolutions. It offers necessary ones. And we have Elion Vara Lumi, Moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer at 14 to 15 degrees, which is fundamentally an opening of emotional abundance, a moment where the heart receives more than it expected, where what seemed depleted turns out to have reserves you didn't know existed, where belonging and grace arrive without you having to earn them in the moment, because you already did the earning. Together, these two aspects are telling a single story today. The story is, you have been tested, and the testing was real, and you are still here. And that means something. What it means is Elion Vara Lumi. The blessing you receive today isn't separate from the pressure you've been under. It is the answer to it. So the emotional gift that arrives today, whether it's a literal external event or a deep internal shift that changes how you're carrying yourself, I really believe it's connected to something much larger than just March 26th. It's showing you what survives the pressure. It's revealing what you're actually made of underneath the armor, and it's giving you a moment of genuine grace to receive that truth. How to work with today's energy. So here's what I'd recommend. First, let yourself feel it. Whatever arrives today, let it land. Don't analyze it immediately. Don't armor against it because it's unfamiliar. Don't talk yourself out of it because good things have required so much effort lately. Just let it arrive and let it be real. Second, be willing to receive. This might sound obvious, but a lot of us have been in survival mode long enough that receiving gracefully takes conscious effort. If someone offers warmth today, accept it. If an opportunity feels too good, sit with that feeling instead of immediately looking for the catch. Today is genuinely generous. You are allowed to receive generously in return. Third, stay honest with yourself about what the Mars-Pluto pressure has actually revealed. Because Chiron this Vera doesn't just create difficulty, it creates clarity. The friction shows you exactly what you're unwilling to compromise on, and exactly what you've been holding past its expiration. Whatever became clear in the pressure. Trust that clarity. It's real. And finally, hold today as a marker. Write down what you feel. Write down what arrives. Write down the moment when something softens or shifts or unexpectedly blooms. Because Elion Vara Lumia at 14 to 15 degrees Cancer on March 26th is the kind of conjunction you'll want to remember when the next difficult transit comes. It will remind you that the pressure always carries a gift inside it. You just have to survive long enough to unwrap it. Trust what opens today. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. We talk so much about strength, about resilience, about pushing through and holding on and fighting for what matters. And all of that is real and necessary. But sometimes the most courageous thing is to stop bracing and let something good arrive without interrogating it. Elion Vara Lumi is available to you today. Moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer at 14 to 15 degrees. This is one of the warmest, most emotionally generous transits available to us. And it's arriving on the exact same day that Chiron this Vera has pushed you to your actual edge. Mars square Pluto at 22 degrees doesn't leave you where it found you. It changes you. And the version of you that comes through that change, that's who Elion Vara Lumi is waiting for. So when you feel that warmth today, when something arrives that feels better than you expected, when someone says something that reaches a place in you that's been cold for a while, when a realization hits that transforms the weight you've been carrying into something you can actually set down, trust that. Don't minimize it. Don't rush past it. Don't tell yourself it won't last or that it can't be real. The universe is speaking today in two languages at once. Karen this Vera says, be real, be true, release what no longer belongs to you. Elion Vara Lumi says, and here, in the space that creates, is something that does. Both are true. Both are for you. Today, you don't have to choose between strength and tenderness. You get to be both. Final thoughts. All right. So to bring this all together, today, March 26, 2026, the moon conjuncts Jupiter in Cancer at 14 to 15 degrees. Elion Vara Lumi. This is one of the most emotionally expansive and nurturing lunar aspects available to us, and it is happening on the same day as Mars square Pluto at 22 degrees, Aries Aquarius. Chiron this Vera. One of the most confrontational and transformational aspects in the sky. For Cancer, Aries, and Capricorn especially, I think today is when the shift happens, when the grace arrives, when something that has been under immense pressure finally opens into something unexpectedly beautiful. But honestly, even if those signs aren't yours, pay attention today. Notice what softens. Notice what arrives without you having to force it. Notice what feels different than it did yesterday. Because I really believe today is one of those days when the universe is actively trying to reach you, not through demands, but through tenderness. Stay present, stay open, and most importantly, let yourself receive what today is offering. All right, if you've stayed with me this far, thank you. Genuinely thank you. If today's energy resonated with you and you want to keep exploring this kind of work together, I'd love it if you subscribed. It means more than I can say, and it helps this content reach the people who need it. And please, leave a comment. Tell me what happens for you today. If Elion Vara Lumi delivers something that surprises you, if something that's been heavy suddenly lifts, if an emotional door opens that you thought was locked, come back and share it. I read everything, and I believe completely that your story today might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to trust their own. Take care of yourself today. Receive what's being offered, and I'll see you in the next one.